At this moment, Queen Grimhild went into the hall of Didrik of Bern to talk with him alone. He welcomed her and asked what she wanted. She spoke weeping and wailing. "Good friend Thidrek, I have come to seek your good advice. I shall now ask you, good sir, to give me your aid, so that I can avenge my greatest grief, the killing of young Sigurd. I will avenge this now on Högni and Gunnar and the other brothers. If you will do it, good sir, I shall give you as much gold and silver as you yourself desire. I will also offer you help when you ride to the Rhine and wish to avenge yourself." And King Thidrek spoke. "Lady, I certainly cannot do that, and anyone who does will do it against my advice and against my will, because these men are my best friends, and I should sooner offer them support than enmity." She went away weeping, and went to the hall that belonged to Duke Blodlin. She continued, "Lord Blodlin, will you give me help in avenging my grief? Now I am reminded sorely of what the Niflungs did to young Sigurd. I wish to avenge that now on them, if you will give me help. If you will do so, then I will give you much power and whatever you ask for." Blodlin answered, "Lady, if I were to do that, I would have a great enemy in King Attila, because he is such good friends with them." And the queen went away. And now she went to King Attila and spoke to him as she had before. "Lord King Attila, where is the gold? Where is the silver my brothers gave you?" And King Attila said that he had received neither gold nor silver, but still he welcomed those who had come to visit him. And the queen spoke, "Sir, who shall avenge my dishonor if not you? It is still the greatest grief to me that young Sigurd was murdered. Please, my lord, avenge me. Then you will receive all the Niflungs' treasure and their lands." The king spoke, "Lady, do not do that anymore. How can I deceive my brothers-in-law, who are here on my word? And you should not cause one man to ill-use them." And she now went away, and matters seemed to her to be at their worst. King Attila went out to the apple orchard, where the feast was to take place, and he called his guests to him, and they all thronged in. The queen spoke to the Niflungs. "You should now give me your weapons for safekeeping. No one should carry weapons here. You can see clearly that the Huns are also doing so." Högni replied, "You are a queen. Why should you take a man's weapons? My father told me when I was young that I should never give my weapons into the care of a woman. As long as I am in Hunaland, I shall never give up my weapons." And Högni put on his helmet and fastened it on tightly. everyone felt that Högni was very angry and in a bad mood, and they did not know what would happen. Gunnar said, "Högni has been in a bad humor since we set out on this journey, and it may turn out that he shows his valor and wisdom today." Gernot's began to suspect that there might be a deception, just as Högni had said before the Niflungs set out on this journey. And he put on his helmet and bound it tight and went into the courtyard with it on. King Attila realized that Högni was angry, and he bound his helmet tighter and asked King Thidrekssaga of Bern, "Who is putting on his helmet and acting angry?" Thidrekssaga answered, "It seems to me that it must be Högni and his brother Gernot. They are both valiant warriors in an unknown land, and they do that with great courage." He continued, "There are certainly good warriors, and it is very probable, sir, that you will see that clearly today, if things turn out as I expect." King Attila stood up and went to meet King Gunnar and Giselher, and he took the king's hand in his right hand and Giselher's in his left, and called to Högni and Gernot. He set all of them in the honored places on his right, one next to the other, in the order told above. A great fire was built in the courtyard, and all around the fire they had set up the tables and seats. All the Niflungs came into the courtyard with their helmets and bright byrnies and sharp swords, but their shields and their spears had been given up for safekeeping. They had assigned their squires to that, and 20 squires had been set there to watch over them and to bring them to them if they were needed. This was in case it was a deception, or if enmity should arise. Högni and Gernot had decided on this. Volkher sat next to the guardian of Aldrian, the son of King Attila. Queen Grimhild had her seat placed across from the King Attila and near Duke Blodlin. At this moment, Queen Grimhild went to speak to one of her knights named Earl Irung. He was in charge of other knights, and she spoke to him. "Good friend Irung, will you avenge my dishonor? King Attila does not want to do so, nor does King Thidrek, nor any of my friends." And Irung said, "What do you wish to avenge, lady? Why are you weeping so sorely?" And the queen answered, "It is heavy on my mind how young Sigurd was murdered. I wish to avenge him now if anyone will help me." And she took his gold inlaid shield and said, "Good friend Irung, will you avenge my dishonor? I shall give you this shield, full of red gold as it can be, and my friendship as well." Irung answered, "Lady, that is a great deal of money, but it is worth even more to gain your friendship." He stood up quickly and armed himself and called his knights in and bade them arm themselves. He had 120 knights, and he set up his standard, and the queen said that he should go first and kill the squires, and let no one of them get out of the courtyard. He should also kill any of the Niflungs he found there, and no one who was inside should get out with his life. And now the queen went into the courtyard, where the feast was going on. She sat down in her high seat, and her son Aldrian ran to her and kissed her. The queen spoke. "My sweet son, you will be like your kinsman. If you have the courage, go over now to Högni and, when he is leaning over the table and taking food from the plate, take your fist and strike him as hard as you can. You will be a good warrior if you dare to do that." The boy ran immediately over to Högni, and when he was leaning over the table, the boy struck him with his fist on his chin, and the blow was more than would be expected from such a young man. Högni took the boy by the hair in his left hand and said, "You did not decide to do that on your own, and King Attila did not advise you to do that. It is more likely that your mother urged you to do this deed, but you will have little good from it." In his right hand, Högni took hold of the hilt of his sword and pulled it out of its sheath and struck off the boy's head and cast it at Grimhild's breast. Högni spoke. "We are drinking good wine in this apple orchard, and it will be dear to pay for. I now repay this first debt to my sister Grimhild." Then he reached over Folkher's head and struck off the head of the boy's guardian. "Now the queen has been repaid for the way you raised this boy." King Attila sprang up and called out, "Rise up, Huns, all of my men, and arm yourselves and kill the Niflungs." Now every man who was in the courtyard sprang up, and the Niflungs drew their swords. Grimhild had rawhides spread out before the gate to the courtyard. When the Niflungs ran out of the courtyard, they fell, and many men were killed there. Irung stood there with his men and killed many good warriors. The Niflungs now killed many men in the courtyard, and many hundreds now lay killed within. Grimhild finally got her way and found Irung in helping her avenge the death of young Sigurd, her former husband. This piece is the most famous story in the Germanic world overall. So stay tuned for more in the next episode of the Thidrekssaga, back here in the Hall of Sagenheim.